India, the cradle of an ancient civilization, the birthplace of Buddhism and Hinduism, the second largest country in terms of population on the planet. Throughout its history, it was the center of important trade routes, famous for its riches and high culture. India continues to conquer the hearts of travelers all over the world. A riot of colors and fireworks of aromas, a kaleidoscope of traditions, something shocking but unchanged from time immemorial, magnificent palaces and ancient temples, and in the same neighborhood, miserable hovels and bazaars. Every square centimeter here breathes its own special life. And this life will not leave anyone indifferent. We went there to see the rare Indian horses of the Marwari breed. The journey of our film crew began in the metropolis of Delhi. From there, they needed to get to the small town of Mandawa in the state of Rajasthan. The trip took about 6 hours. It was possible to get there faster, but Indian roads are dangerous and extreme. We preferred not to risk our lives. We have arrived in the state of Rajasthan, in the town of Mandawa. It is 300 kilometers away from New Delhi, the capital of India. It's here that the horse tracks of Mandawa Safari begin. In India, horse tourism is an exclusive leisure. Only well-off people can afford to keep horses and organize horse routes. If you are coming here in search of horse adventures, rest assured, everything will be at the highest level. Horse Tracks Mandawa Safari is the family business of the Mandawa family. They were organized by two brothers, Anirudh and Angad.
Mandawa Safari, as you know, it's in the name. Mandawa is my family name. We come from Mandawa region, that's why it's called Mandawa. And safari is a very common term used for horse rides, in the countryside. So that's why we thought it's best to keep it Mandawa Safari.
We got into horses because we always saw horses from my childhood, because our family, my grandfather, great-grandfather always had horses. So my family always had horses, and when we grew up, and actually we studied in the school where we had horses, so we had love towards the animals. And when we came and passed out school and college and we came back to our home, so we didn't know what to do with the horses. So then we started as a business with them, so we can at least maintain them and keep them safe in our stables. Thought of doing a safari business where we can call people from all over the world and show them our countryside, where it is not possible by going in the car and looking at the places, where you can go on a horseback and see the countryside. It would be a nicer thing for them.
Indian adventures begin with moving into an unusual hotel. At the entrance there is a colorful guard, and driving through the arch, the guests enter the large front yard. In India, everyone can feel like a real prince or princess. All the tourists here stay in ancient castles. For example, now we are in the capital palace of Anirudh's family. One part of the palace is for family members, the second for tourists and guests. The castle was built in the middle of the 18th century. It was created as a fort to protect caravans. In those days, the Great Silk Road passed through Mandawa.
It was built in 1755 to protect the caravans and the outposts, and later the family came and settled here.
My grandfather actually started hotel there because it was just empty and such a big castle, and to maintain it without earning money, it was difficult. He started with 8 rooms initially, and slowly it developed, and then my great-grandfather, after that my father, my father's brothers, everyone took over, and now it's running as an 80-room property in Mandawa.
The castle is an object of cultural and historical heritage. Here you can even get a tour. Tourists have something to see. Architecture, murals, frescoes, rare paintings.
This is a lobby. Now we use it for the guest who comes here. They relax and they look at the paintings and admire the place. You can see my ancestors' paintings everywhere, all around.
Who is this person?
This is my great-grandfather. So you can see all my ancestors. My grandfather is there, great-grandfather is right there in center. We are in one of the rooms of the castle, which was known as winter room and summer room. It was known as winter room because in winter there are so many windows all over. You can get good amount of light, good amount of sun when you need it. And it was as a summer room because early in days there was no air condition, there was no fans, and you could just open the windows and you could get some air to it, and that worked as a air condition and a fan.
The first day we sleep in the castle of Mandawa, and in the morning, together with Anirudh, we go to the stable to meet with horses and explore the area. It is 5 kilometers from the castle. Guests are brought here by jeeps.
We are at the stables now, and I've got around 35 horses for safari and breeding in my stables. And we have been keeping horses for generations now. These stables, actually our main stables were at the castle, which was later converted into rooms for the guests. And then we shifted our stables at the other hotel, but then again we made those rooms into some other things. So now I'm making a new stables for them, but this is a temporary structure for them.
Many tourists go in Indian horse trek to see a rare ancient horse breed, the Marwari. Sacred books it is described as a horse on which only great warriors and kings could sit. It was brought up specially for the battles in the desert. The Marwari is able to feed on scanty desert vegetation, bear heat and cold, and live for a long time without water, and at the same time it can overcome long distances at a high speed. Another unique ability of this horse is to hear even the quietest sounds from a distance. And here they are, beautiful horses of the Marwari breed. They become famous all over the world thanks to the exotic bent ears in the shape of a heart. It is forbidden to export Marwari from India because they are a national treasure.
They're a very unique bloodline. They're hot-blooded horses. I don't know if you've taken a photograph of the horse, but the ears are almost joining. You know, they're almost touching. The ears are very different to anywhere else in the world. And these were all war horses. And the reason of the ears is also because, you know, they were the war horses and in the olden times, these are desert horses. So the ears used to keep flickering 360 degrees to capture the noises in the drums. So somehow genetically, the shape of the ears have turned out to be like that. Yeah. And you don't find them anywhere else except in the earlier years when horses were allowed to export. There were few Marwaris which were exported to Spain and America. But now the Indian government have put a ban, so to make it only to keep it in the country, to keep it pure, the gene and the bloodline, Indian government does not allow to be that Marwari horses should be exported. So that's why if anyone wants to ride these horses, they have to come to India.
Horses are respected, loved and protected here. A hereditary team of grooms works with the animals at Mandawa Safari.
We are 3 brothers who are working with horses. So one of the brothers, he's very good a historian, so he takes care of the accommodation of the guests, and he talks to the guests, tells them about the story. If there's something to do with the horses, I am there to tell them about the horses and to take care of the horses. I have got around 8 to 9 people in my stables who are taking care of the horses with food and grooming and everything about that. And I have 3 boys working with me who takes care of the routes, and also they chalk out routes for me and they find new locations for riding.
And here is the favorite horse of Anirudh, Dervika. She is a fading black mare. She is 8 years old and she was born here in the stables of Mandawa Safari. Several months ago, Dervika became mother of a foal named Milady. Our film crew, in honor of this event, gave a small gift to Dervika. This is a gift for your horse.
Thank you so much. Favorite horse because when she was small, from childhood, she's been attached to me. And when we started riding her, I was the first one who started riding her. From then, I'm riding her for every safari. And now, as she's been for a lot of safaris, she knows all the ways and everything. So she's more comfortable for me to ride.
After a brief excursion into the history of the Marwari breed, as well as getting to know the team and the horses, it is time to sit in the saddle. A jeep with security, food and the personal belongings of tourists will accompany the group through the route. And this is 40 to 45 kilometers per day.
When we go for safaris and we go for 40 kilometers a day and we are going for 7 days, so I have to make all the safety for my tourists. So I have to have the jeep behind the horses which is trailing with all the medical aid, with all the equipment of the horses, with medical aid for the tourists. If something is needed, you can really give it to them, maybe water, all that is there in the jeep. And plus anything mishap happens, which never happened, touch wood, but I can just take them to the nearest hospital very soon.
Roads in the northern part of India have soft sandy soil. But when the path runs through villages, horses have to walk on the asphalt, so everyone has horseshoes. By the way, Marwaris are very careful. They are not afraid of noise and loud sounds and easily sidestep cows and camels. Along the way, the group makes several stops, first to drink water. In the daytime, even in winter, the temperature in India reached plus 25. The assistants from the jeep bring water to the riders. Horses can drink from special waters for animals. They are installed in all the villages of Rajasthan.
Best season I think for horseback riding is from October till March, April. See, the temperature in the evening it becomes very cool as it's a desert. So in desert it cools, the sand cools very fast, and it even in summers like it really gets hot very fast because the sand is a type of thing which cools down and which gets hot very fast. So in daytime it's a very pleasant, because in winters when you're riding you can just ride in the shirt or t-shirt or a shirt. It's very pleasant, but in the evening you will require jackets and all.
Equestrian routes around Rajasthan are diverse. Anirudhan and God came up with many interesting choices for the guests. More than 10 programs. Here, both lovers of secluded recreation in nature and those who want to combine horseback riding with sightseeing will be happy.
So I have these kinds of programs where I take them and do 5 days of riding with them. 2 days of showing them a city which is called Jaipur, which is called a pink city of Jaipur, which is the best city in Rajasthan. Then you go to Ranthambore, which is a wildlife sanctuary. So you see wildlife there. Then you go to Taj Mahal, which is most popular everywhere in the world. Everyone knows about Taj Mahal.
The most popular event among tourists are the fairs of horses and camels, and also a wild safari in remote villages, and here where the locals live like they did centuries ago, without light, in simple huts.
I have a lot of programs, like you know, and we're offering a lot of trips to the clients which they are coming. But we try and offer them most is the fairs, like the horse fair. Like one of the biggest fair in India is Pushkar Fair, where there are thousands and thousands of horses every year coming, and all the breeders from all over the India, they come with their horses. So it's really nice to see different horses with different bloodline and to visit there. So that is one of my favorite rides what I do, and it's very good for the clients to see so many horses at one location. That's one of the rides, and plus there are various other rides which I offer. One is a wildlife sanctuary ride, which we ride close to the wildlife through the jungle, and then one of the days we show them tigers or deers in the car, not in the horses, because it's not possible to take the horses in the jungle. Trip what we have is called Nagaur Fair ride, which is from Nagaur to Bikaner. That area is again untouched area, which is where you will cross a lot of villages where people still they don't have lights in the villages. Still people are living without the lights, and the houses what they have made is made through the sand, like the clay and bricks. So they're made with the hand. There's no other modern machinery used to make the houses. Still people are living like that. There are few villages and few areas it's left like that.
Our horse route continued. We crossed villages, galloped along unknown sandy roads. Here and there, wild animals ran across our path. Having climbed the big hill, they decided to make a stop. The jeep was already here. Some assistants fuss around, set in the table, other unsaddle horses. The musicians came to entertain us during the rest. If you are tired on the road, not a problem. The organizers of Mandawa Safari take care of this. Guests will offer a relaxing massage. While the guests were resting, the grooms fed the horses. The stop lasted about an hour and a half, then again on the road.
The idea is to give experience, It's not only riding on a horse. So when we're riding out, we generally try and do kite flying, target shooting, archery. At nights, we take out telescopes to do stargazing. So we try and create the experience, and the local dinners in little hamlets, or we take you through the cenotaphs to see the cenotaphs or havelis walking through the town. So we try and create an experience and take you to different places, so you can see most of the culture and the activities.
What a pleasure riding on a Marwari. They are obedient, hard-walking horses. They boldly go forward, move actively, and do not become lazy. They understand commands well and are excellently trained. And this is real Indian safari, riding on a Marwari horse through the endless steppes and deserts, accompanied by safari jeep. The day passed by before we knew it. We arrived at the small town of Mahansar. The horses were left to the grooms and we headed to the Narayan Nivas castle. Here, tourists spend the night on the first day after the start of the horse safari.
We are 40 kilometers away from Mandawa. This is one of the first stops during our safari. This place is called Mahansar Fort, and this was made in 1786. And it's a small hotel, but very nice because it's run by the family of Mahansar, and they've got around 8 to 10 rooms here for the guests.
And Nainavas Castle is about 40-45 kilometers from Mandawa, and that is also again the cousins. Like we said, everything was equally divided amongst the family. So they are one of our cousins who own that castle, but we only separated like 400 years back.
Hotel Narayan Nivas Castle, also popularly known as Mahansar Castle, is situated amongst the midst of semi-desert and rural surroundings. This castle is becoming popular among writers, fashion photographers and art lovers. During a horse trek, guests always stop at night in interesting historical buildings: castle, haveli, ancient mansions of rich Indian people. Let us tell you about 2 more buildings. One day our group stopped in the city of Churu, in the Haveli Malchka Kamra. This exquisite restored mansion has now also been converted into a hotel. The building is an architectural marvel, a unique combination of shekhawati's famous fresco paintings, European pillared architecture and Italian Art Deco influences.
We are in Churu, which is from 35 kilometers from Mahansar, where we were last night, and this is the second place of the whole tour where we come with my guests for safaris. It was made in 1920s.
Another ancient haveli where the Mandawa Safari groups are obligated to spend their night is in the city of Navalgarh. It is called Kulvalkoti. It simply needs to be seen with your own eyes. It is impossible to describe the beauty of the building and its exquisite paintings.
Kulvalkoti is one of the havelis in Navalgarh, which was renovated and then turned into a heritage hotel. And because this region is famous for havelis, because most of the traders in the olden times used to come and trade here, and they settled here. And they were very rich merchants. So they had a lot of money, so they made big houses. Haveli means a mansion, a big house. And they always had so much money that they used to get it painted.
During the horse trek, we traveled around a lot of interesting places. We experienced the trot and gallop on the Marwari. We enjoyed more than one sunset and sunrise of beautiful Rajasthan. Upon returning to the stables, we decided to add exotics and ride the camel. The animal was obedient but temperamental. In winter, camels have a period of mating, so they wear a bridle on their heads to make sure they behave well. In the evening, Anirudh gave us a real surprise and showed how in India they like to cook over a fire. And now we'll try to prepare one of Indian national dishes. Anirudh and his team promised to give us real cooking masterclass.
Today we will be making a famous dish from this region, which we generally eat during a safari. We make a lot of other dishes, but this is more popular during our ride because everyone loves it. It's a red mutton, which is from this region. So to make this, we need some onions, we need some tomatoes, we need some green chilies, we need some red chilies, red powder, we need some salt, we need some ginger and garlic paste and some lemon.
First we pour oil in a bowl and wait for it to boil. We add 2 sticks of dried cinnamon and a few bay leaves. When 6 to 7 spoonfuls of chopped onions.
Add a little bit of mutton now, maybe 10-15 pieces.
Mix in the meat and wait for 10 minutes until it is slightly boiled, when the spices have their turn. Add a half spoonful of red chili pepper, half a spoonful of turmeric and some water, salt and other spices to taste. Stir in, wait for another 5 to 7 minutes until the meat turns red.
A lot of Russians, when they come, they add more spices to it, who are from Caucasus area, so they love the mutton which is hot. So I think you will love it too.
Add the remaining ingredients, including tomatoes, more stirring, and we are waiting for the meat to turn brown, when it can be removed from the fire.
It's done, we should start eating now.
I knew in advance that it would turn out to be very spicy, so I decided only to touch the meat with my lips, but what alone was enough. This looks delicious. It's too space! I can't shoot it! It was so hot that not only could I no longer film, for another half hour I ran around the stables in search of water. There was a fire in my mouth. The Indian smiled and with pleasure extracted one piece of meat after another from the pot and ate with an appetite. And then came the time for live music. The whole next day we dedicated to the automotive theme. Automobiles are a great passion of the Mandawa family, in particular Anirudh. He has a whole collection. Retro cars, modern jeeps, only part of the exhibit is in the castle. By the way, they all start, they can drive.
I like to collect old vintage cars and jeeps, around, I don't know the number exactly, but 30-35 cars in our family altogether. We have new and old cars, like we have around 8-9 cars which are old, which are family, which is bought by my uncle, and he collected them basically. And so those cars are Plymouth, Chevy, Buick. So these are the cars, and the jeeps what we have, like that me and my brother started with collecting them. So we have Ford, we have Willys. So in Willys we have various models, like we have a Korean War jeep which was used for Korean War. We have a Ford which was used for Second World War. So.
Well, in the afternoon we went on a real rally raid through the desert. There are many roads in the vicinity of Mandawa. Therefore, Anirudh often uses them for rally training. Now he trains on a Japanese Isuzu, but sometimes he drives on his Suzuki.
From my childhood, I was always a keen for cars, and I always had a fancy about cars that I should have a car, and when I grow up I should really do a rally. So it was always there in my mind. When I grew up and when I started earning a little bit of money, the first thing I did was I bought a car for rallies and I took part in rallies to understand how it goes.
On the last day we packed our luggage, but here we were in for one more surprise. In Mandawa Castle, where we lived, the day featured an Indian wedding, dozen of cars, red carpet paths, flowers, music and festive outfits. Rajasthan is one of the most unique states in India, and it's the locals who give life here its colors, specifically their clothing. Every tribe or village has its own ethnic print and jewelry. By looking at them, you can easily tell where someone is from. By the way, by clothes and ornaments also it is possible to understand what region and inhabitants of India are from. For example, this time the guests came from the south. They understood it by the way men tied turbans on their heads. Our incredible horse track riding in Rajasthan has come to an end, but the memories of the warm hospitality of the Mandawa family, the amazing horses of the Marwari breed and our adventures will remain with us all our lives. This emotion cannot be conveyed in words, but you can feel them. We will definitely come back here again.
We are already working on our new stables which we have made, and we have around 8 to 10 rooms there. So we are trying to develop that as a horse resort with doing something with horses. So we will have an open arena there. We will maybe teach people how to do tent pegging, which is a very old game in India. And people can come and stay with horses and they can be more closer. So this is what we are planning now.